Hello everybody. Today I would like to talk about some questions that I'm often asked by various people from the internet. I did not expect that I will make this video, but since these questions happens too many times, so let me answer them and settle the issue. First of all, some people do not understand why we practice test cutting with single leg standing only and with shortcut. They will say that, hey, this is not safe, you are not stable, you may fall or you may hit your own legs, something like that. They do not realize what kind of level we are at. It is like you are telling a professional sportsman on bike that driving on bike is too unstable, too dangerous, so you should go back to tricycle. It's something like that. First of all, the targets we cut are above the difficulty of tatami,
which of course many people hold up as the gold standard for cutting. This one's made by Hanwei, and a Shamshir made by LK Chen, which is pretty much the best single-handed cutting sword I've tested so far, or at least in the top 3. This didn't look Shamshir. That's a bit more messy.
They are more difficult than the usual targets that people cut. You can see this comment from Director's Sword and from Scatter Grip. So they both confirm that these are more difficult targets than tatami. One thing I've always wondered is that why those people who tell me not to cut with single leg or shortcut things on, they never look at the result. The result is often that we succeed in cutting those targets even with only single leg on the floor and with shortcut. They said without both legs stable on the floor, you can't use body power, you can't use core power. Then why do we still manage to cut those difficult targets? They never wonder about this. They seems to be lacking some logic to deduce the answer from what they have seen, or selectively blind with from the performance or the result of the test cut. Now, so let me explain why did we practice with single leg standing and with shortcut only. It is because in actual combat situation, you may not have stable footing. The actual combat situation can happen on the slope of a hill, or happens on sandy grounds, or grass ground, or wet floor, that you just can't get any stable foothold on it. If you are only capable of cutting stuff with stable footing or with core power, as they said, you are very limiting yourself in actual combat situation, that you may not even land a good cut at all, because as the battle goes on, the floor will become more wet, littered with blood and guts from both sides of the combatants. So the real combat style of swordsmanship must be able to deal with this unstable footing issue. So, and also, those people never wondered why when we cut with shortcut and single leg on, we still manage to cut through the targets with bone. Even obviously that we lack core power, because in my style, we discovered the key factors that facilitate the high-speed zone, and the core power is not part of that. So that it is like we are a very advanced and out of normal style boxers. Just making an example, we are so powerful that we can KO, knock out people with just the jab, and even not standing stable on the ground with jab only, and we can KO people with one jab, pop, 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 pop. Like this. So how would you describe this kind of boxers? Will you go to them and tell them to, hey, you should put back the other leg on the floor, stand stably, and punch with core power like that? No, you look at the result first. If they fail the cut, if they fail to KO people, then you may voice your advice. Maybe you can do that to improve the result. However, they neglect the result and just think out of their own very limiting boundary and tell us, hey, you should go back to the norm, which is not combat effective and not applicable, not so applicable on combat situation. So this is the first question answered. Why do we practice shortcut with single leg standing on bony targets? It is just like we are practicing using the jab to KO the opponent with each jab on single leg standing, and we even manage that. That's how much advanced we are compared to the norm. The next question. There were people who asked me, why do we practice tip power to break defense? They said, hey, you do tip power on single leg and shortcut to break the opponent's saute defense. Why do you do such a weak stance? I want to face palm myself, but I don't want to break my glasses. This is the same kind of question of that test cutting question we just dealt with. In reality, if you can break defense with the soft tip and even without core power due to standing on a single leg and with shortcut only, this open up a new world for you. A whole new world. Because many things that were considered impossible in other styles, in most of the styles, swordsmanship styles, will suddenly become possible for you. This is just like I mentioned, it's like using the fingertip, standing on single leg and touch your opponent's defense, and your fingertip can break defense. Then you open a new gateway to another dimension. You can do many things that is unimaginable before. So we practice the unimaginable. As I mentioned in the test cut one thing, I have already found factors that contribute to the high speed zone, which is not core power. The core power does not do much to high speed zone, and as long as you have high speed zone and correct blade alignment, you can cut massive targets, or you can break defense with a tip. Okay, we go to the third question then. The third question is that many people said, hey, aren't your swords just the supreme cutters they are talking about, just katana or Chinese sword? They look so alike. These people are taking things on too superficially. Now let me ask you, do katana ever have a pommel? Do Chinese sword have a solid pommel? They don't. They usually have a cap at the end, right? That's the first thing. The pommel change the balance. and so the supreme cutters do not handle like Chinese sword or katana. This is only the first thing. The second thing is that, have you ever noticed how thick a katana is at the tip? This is how thick it is. Nobody pay attention to this. The supreme kata is not this thickness. And also, nobody noticed how narrow relatively a katana is. And the supreme kata is not like this either. To say that just because it's curved, it looks like a katana, and then they call it a katana with whatever modification. No, it's not a katana. Both in the construction method, it's not differentially hardened. It has a pommel, a European style, and also the distal tapering, the thickness thinning out, and the width are not katana style at all. They are not even Chinese style. Because Chinese style don't have a solid pommel at the end either. And both katana and Chinese sword has a similar balance ratio in the total length. Even though this is an aluminum earthworm, the balance can still be taken reference. Notice that in the total length, the balance sits on about 40% from the hilt end. This is true for katana and for Chinese style swords. They are all about the same in the total balance ratio. European swords have a different ratio. They are closer to the hilt due to the solid pommel. Long sword is, I have done a statistic. Long sword is more like 30%, and rapier is 28%, something like that. I have to check the table to see the result. But yes, that's something like that. Supreme katas are very far from the Oriental style balance, and more similar to the Western balance. So yeah, that's why I keep saying that supreme katas are not Chinese sword, not whatever Dao it is, not katana. People do not understand this. Also, there's one more thing. Sometimes they said certain big name grandmaster skill is valid because he spars well, so he knows what he talks about. It's definitely valid. Sparring also has a lot of different levels of realism and intensity. When the sparring was done in a not so earnest style, with a in-school style sparring, you may say, and you are always facing your own kind of people, the same kind of weapons, and that simulators are not realistic enough to have exact weight and balance and shape and size, and it's not safe enough that you can just go fully at your partner without risking injuries, then your sparring are limited by the safety factors and the diversity factors and the realism factors, and whatever skills that work in your sparring setup may not work at a more realistic, more combat similar sparring situation. I have made another video about this, and we compared our sparring to that grandmaster sparring, which is totally different. I used to spar with national or international champions. I spar at that level and still manage to hold my own. So when I talk about what skill works and what skill does not work, I'm talking about facing the top guys, when and not just your usual sparring partners, or even facing pole arms, because we spar against various kind of weapons. We do not limit to the same style combinations. We are not in school sparring. We cross spar everything. So this is another question that I would like to address. Okay, if there are more questions, then I may make another video to talk about that. See ya.